Hey everyone, it's your girl Taro. Thank you for stopping by to watch my video. Remember to hit that like button and comment below. It is an easy and free way to support the channel and get more content like this. Alright, let's get into it. Today's topic is about Red Dead Redemption 2 roleplay. We'll be talking about RDR2 roleplay and what it's about, the rise of RDR2 roleplay, and my thoughts on if it will surpass the longtime champion GTA 5 RP. Let's start talking about the pros and cons for both RedM and FiveM. Note, these are my own opinions and might differ from others. First, we are going to discuss the two main RP platforms for both Red Dead Redemption 2 and GrandTheftAuto V. That is RedM and FiveM. Let's start with the longtime title holder, FiveM. As someone who started her channel off with GTA 5 RP, I can see the appeal of the game. It is a great game, can get great roleplay out of it, yet, like all other games, it can have downfalls too. Some pros of FiveM that I have personally seen is it's set in a modern setting. Modern houses, roads, food joints, banks, cell phones, etc. To me, and for most who play it, it feels like home, since it's close to how we live right now, which is a perfect up point for me. It's fast-paced roleplay. Like I mentioned, it is a go kind of roleplay. That it's instant roleplay, where you can call someone and get their location at that moment, where police have scanners and radars that you can communicate thoroughly across vast spaces of the map. They have cool cars, planes, boats. Do I need to say more? Cars and things are definitely a go-to for this game. Without them, it would be very, very rough to travel across the type of map. And not to mention the modern mods that people have developed to make things more realistic as possible. Graphics mods to give it that oof, that edge that the game is looking for. A lot of custom content for GTA RP. And after all, it's been around a while, so there is plenty out there, from hairstyles to clothes to vehicles to housing to even add-ons that weren't even in the base game. So with that being said of the positives, now time to go to the cons of FiveM. And once again, this is what I think, it's all personal opinion. And if you have your own pros and cons about each game, go ahead and leave a comment below. So, first off, fast-paced roleplay. This is both a positive and a negative to me. While fast-paced is good at the same time, it can hinder roleplay, sometimes causing the roleplay to fall into fail RP, metagaming, or power gaming very easily. Sometimes you just get caught up in the moment, and that's okay. When that happens, you just try your best to try to fix the situation. But with it being such a fast go pace, your brain doesn't have time to calculate what you're going to do, to calculate the outcome, to think about, hey, is my actions going to make the roleplay for the other person enjoyable? Or is it going to just be fun to me and they got nothing out of it? To me, slowing down a little bit can really help with situations like that. Next is unable to live off of the land. This is a huge one in GTA 5. It was not made, the game itself was not built to be able to live off the land. You were meant to get a job, meant to have a day-to-day business job, criminal, to make money, to get a house and stuff like that. There wasn't any in-game or base game functions that allow you to live off the land. Like chopping down trees, building your own fire, boiling your own water, cooking your own meat, and stuff of the such. However, since it has been around a lot, modders have made add-ons for FiveM that can import this into your game. However, that is a thing. It is very buggy in most of them because the base game itself was not made for such content. It was not made to be able to live off the land. Next is economy servers in GTA 5 tend to be a grind fest with little role play. and making it hard to live without having to buy ridiculous dollar amount houses, guns, and stuff like that. For one house, and the very crappy ones at that, some servers are millions of dollars. While the pay for basic civilian pay is so crap that it forces you to go criminal, which will come to my next point in just a little bit. So basically what this means is that people just grind for hours and hours with no interaction whatsoever just to afford a place where their character can live. Living and the capability to live off the land, to me at least, is a wonderful benefit to the roleplay experience. Not having to worry about, can I make this house payment? That is like super, super expensive if you want to do something other than criminal roleplay for most economy servers. Just wanted to put that out there. Now, off to my point from earlier. Very low civilian roleplay. And this isn't just in economy servers. I've seen this in menu servers just as much as economy servers. Some of the menu servers I've been a part of, I personally love the civilian roleplay aspect. Doing minor cop calls, minor disputes, civil disputes, stuff like that. However, with a lot of roleplay happening, a lot of the people who play the cops, they get a call in about a dispute over, let's say, for example, someone took someone's blue piece of paper when they know the green one's theirs. It sounds like a fun roleplay, sounds like a funny roleplay to be dealing with, but most people who are playing cops, and I've seen this on both menu and public servers, it's more premise on public servers than menu servers, but they would tend to just not want to interact with that. They want to go to the bank robberies, the shootouts, the car chases. And to me, because of that, it falls flat, very flat in the civilian roleplay department. Not to mention, if you are playing as a civilian, you are almost robbed every single time you wake up as your character. And this is mostly for public servers, not so much menu. Yes, roleplay is about living a fantasy, and that is what it's always should be about. I personally feel like the lack of everyday civilian jobs and the lack of a decent amount of pay for those civilian jobs in most GTA FiveM roleplay servers is a deep con for the game. So with that out of the way, let's move on to RDR2 RedM roleplay. So some of the pros that I have found for RDR2 RedM roleplay is obviously being able to live off the land. Having the ability to live off the land in roleplay is just simply amazing. Gathering your own food, water, placing a campfire in a tent wherever you want. The ability to pick up your house and travel to a different part of the map and have everything you need right there is just wonderful in itself. You do not have to rely on going to the store to get your food. You do not have to rely on going to the store to get your water. You can craft it yourself. You can make your own fire yourself, your house yourself, and it is beautiful. It is simply beautiful. Just to be able to go wherever you want, to be like, oh, I'm tired of living next to this waterfall. Let's pack up and travel all the way to Saint Denis, because that is where I want to spend the next couple of days, just wandering about, finding new people, making roleplay and such. It just creates more element to the game, and that's exciting. Next one is the Lawless Outlands. Okay, yes, I did mention GTA 5 was all Crimson Cops, and I might get Taro, but isn't that the same thing? Yes, in a way, and I'll get into detail about that soon. With the Lawless Outlands, this puts the peacekeeping in the hands of the citizens, aka the civilians. See, in RDR2, it's set in a time where sheriffs are elected. Everyday citizens elected by their people to protect the town. That right there is already a huge leap into the civilian roleplay. Now, with that in mind, better civilian roleplay. Yes, there are criminals and robbers and whatnot, but unlike FiveM, RedM RDR2, with it not being as fast paced, this makes it a slower pace of roleplay, obviously. With that, it leads to people thinking through scenarios more often, so a hostage situation tends to be more enjoyable for the civilian instead of just the criminal. So with the enjoyment on the civilian as well, and the criminal able to slow down and think the thought process through, is like, okay, so how am I going to interact with the sheriff when he gets here? How am I going to interact with the civilian? How am I going to drop the civilian off and keep him quiet enough so he doesn't say anything, aka scare him into submission? With that type of thought process, it takes time. So a slower paced environment gives the ability to think those processes through. And that overall creates a better roleplay experience for civilians as much as the criminals and hostage takers, and the law enforcement too. For example, law enforcement, they can be all the way down in Saint Denis, and a robbery can be happening, let's say, Annisburg. A robbery or hostage situation could be in Annisburg. The sheriff and the deputies need a ride from Saint Denis to Annisburg, and that gives them time to think of how they're going to handle the situation, to communicate with each other during the ride of who's going to be where, who's going to do what. And yes, you can say that you can do that in FiveM as well. You definitely can. But my point is, it takes a bit more time to actually get there. So it takes more time for you to think through your processes as you're running there, which in the long run helps with the roleplay. Now, let's get to something that I'm really happy about of better civilian roleplay is the options. With living off the land, it kind of limits the need for such a high dollar amount if you don't want to have it. So there are jobs that are vast more than GTA 5 roleplay. Ranch work is amazing. You want to be a rancher, run cattle from one place to another, work with horses, run a business, whether it be like you're a broker or a miner or you own your own logging company. You can be a vet, old school doctors, face it. That shit's cool as hell. Having to research and learn what was used during doctor practices back in 1899. So overall, in my opinion, RDR2 roleplay has a better civilian roleplay atmosphere. And that, for me at least, is a huge win. Now, on to slow-paced roleplay, which I did hint at earlier. But I just wanted to go into more detail. So this to me gives the roleplay a sense of surprise, because you never know what you're going to run into. If the law will show up in time, if your friend that's being hunted by a group got caught and taken hostage. The slow-paced roleplay just expands the element of surprise to the roleplay. And that just creates a whole different type of spiral effect. So for example, we'll go back to your friend's been, taken hostage by a group that they, let's say, didn't pay off their debt, okay? You knew they were looking for them. You saw your friend earlier, just in Valentine, before you rode off to Rhodes. And you haven't heard from them since, besides a telegram saying, hey, I'm going to be heading over here. Meet me here, and I will wait. You get there, your friend's nowhere to be seen. You start to wonder what happened. You ask around, like, hey, did you see, for example, let's say her friend has very short blonde hair with hazel green eyes, wearing a huge poofy blue and green striped dress. Yeah, I know that's probably not a thing you can do, but it's an example. That will entice roleplay around that town. Maybe someone saw something. Maybe like someone did see, like, oh yeah, I saw someone fits that description being held up at gunpoint and tied up and taken away. That right there will just lead you on into an investigation to try to save your friend, whether or not you get a group of your buddies together, go hunting yourself, or you go straight to the law enforcement. And that right there will only be able to occur with this slow-paced type of roleplay without the instant access of communication. Yes, that may not be for everyone, but I personally find that simply amazing. And lastly, the world. Okay, we all can appreciate the beauty that is RDR2. Oh my goodness, this game is visually appealing. It's so gorgeous. Even without any graphic mods, Red Dead Redemption 2 has one of the most beautiful sceneries I have seen in a long time. The waterfalls, the trees, the plains, the mountains, this night sky, it's just absolutely stunning. Stunning. And I sometimes will sit there and just catch myself in roleplay, just staring at a virtual sky. And it's just, I get immersed, I get entranced with the world, and it's just wonderful, and I love it. So those are the pros that I could see for Red Dead Redemption 2 RedM roleplay. Now, on to the cons. Like I mentioned, every game has a con to its pros. And one of the cons I can put is that it is slow-paced roleplay. Just like how the fast-paced roleplay can be both positive and negative, the slower-paced roleplay can be that as well. With the lack of cars, cell phones, we are using technology from the 1800s after all. This can make it harder to communicate with friends and organize things. It takes a while to get from one place to another. Like I mentioned, law across the map might not make it to a robbery in time. And that's okay. But it can be frustrating if you wanted to roleplay with law enforcement. However, if that's your goal, just wait for them to show up. It's perfectly fine. If you have a hostage, you wait for them to show up, or you take your sweet time getting the hostage out. Maybe you trip over something. I don't know. If you really want that interaction, you'll find a way. All right, and another con that I found is not as many custom content to mod into the game. With RDR2 RedM being as new as it is, there are not as much mods that have been developed to be put into the game. Some are out there, such as better crafting systems, hunting systems, robbery systems, etc., and even some housing. However, with those in play, it severely lacks custom clothes, hair, skin color, and not to mention graphics mods. Not like the game really needs that, but it'll be nice to have, you know. So these are not necessarily a major con to the game for me. It does have a huge factoring contribution though. Now, with the pros and cons listed, I want to talk about what is RDR2 roleplay. RDR2 roleplay is set in the Red Dead Redemption era circa 1899, just before the turn of the century. You play as a person living in that era with all the latest technology that 1899 has to offer you. Buy and sell horses, be a rancher, miner, lumberjack, live in a bustling city of Saint Denis as a wealthy tycoon or a lonely street urchin. You can live off the land and be one with nature, or be an outlaw who runs your own store for cover-up. Get elected as the sheriff of your town or appointed marshal of the state. Build your own story from the ground up. Find love, get married or not, whatever floats your boat. Make friends, connections, build a bond with your trusty steed and or dog who helps you hunt and fight. Overall, live out your Wild West dreams. And that is the premise of RDR2 roleplay. You get to live as someone who lived in the Wild West just before the turn of the century. Before all of that has changed, all of that Wild West that we know, that we've heard of from stories from our grandparents or great-grandparents, or how old you are. It depends on how old you are. The stories, the movies, the books. You get to live it out. And let's face it, even myself as a kid, I wanted to be a goddamn cowboy. Like, I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to ride those horses, you know, be a big bad outlaw and whatnot. I knew that would never happen, but what kid has never watched or read a Western book or watched a Western movie and didn't immediately go out and start playing cowboys? I'm not sure about you, but I did. And it was so fun. So fun. With that, I want to talk about the rise of RDR2 roleplay. So it started on October 26th of 2018, just a little bit over 3 years ago, with the release of Red Dead Redemption 2 and RDR Online in 2019. RDR2 Online was the first introduction of RDR2 roleplay. However, it's not like most roleplay you see now through RedM. RDR2 Online kick-started the love of the Western roleplay, but has since become more like GTA 5 Online than roleplay. That is when the creators of FiveM announced around October of 2019 the launch of RDR2 platform like FiveM called RedM. However, from research and help from those in my RDR2 server, NewDawn, I will put all their information below to that server if you're interested in checking them out. They are an allow listed server, so you'll need to apply, but feel free to take a look. All the information is below. They did not get their first active servers till around March of 2020, however. With it being the new kid on the block, the spotlight was still heavily on FiveM GTA 5. But as the months went by and 2021 rolled around, RedM has picked up momentum. More and more allow listed and public servers has started to open their doors, creating competition to previous servers who till recently have been solo sailing on the platform. As of November 17, 2021, scrolling through the lists on the RedM platform, I can conclude between the public and private servers, hundreds of people play daily, possibly thousands on peak hours and days, which is not bad for a platform that's been barely up over a year, and it's still growing every single day as the popularity of this kind of roleplay keeps taking off. So, in conclusion, do I think RDR2 roleplay will surpass its long-time title GTA 5 RP and kick it off the map? As of right now, with the rise of the popularity of this new roleplay style, and it only being a bit over a year old, RDR2 RedM has a huge probability to surpass the title holder GTA 5 FiveM. Does this mean that it will completely wipe GTA 5 roleplay and FiveM off the map? No. FiveM, I feel, will still hold on for many years. Yet RDR2, if it keeps going at the pace it is right now, I can with confidence say it will give GTA 5 FiveM a run for its money and eventually knock it out of its #1 spot. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed my analysis of RedM RDR2 roleplay and how it has a possibility to rise to the top of the roleplay community. It's your girl Taro, signing off. Have a wonderful day.